Hi, welcome to part 2 of this series on the Gilded Age. In this lesson, our objective is to talk about how the Transcontinental Railroad is really going to change the West, the landscape of the West, and also how laissez-faire economics are going to encourage businesses to industrialize. So our first question that goes in our Cornell notes is, why did the federal government invest in the building of the Transcontinental Railroad? So the Transcontinental Railroad began around 1862 and it was finished around 1869. And it spanned from eastern coast of the United States to the western coast of the United States. And it's going to transform America by creating a national market. Before, we just had kind of a series of regional markets. You traded your goods wherever the local town was you were. It was very difficult for you to trade across long distances. Not saying that you couldn't, but it'd be very difficult. With the Transcontinental Railroad, with the improvement of communication and the speed at which you could do business, it really made America grow smaller, if that phrase makes any sense to you. We grew, but at the same time we became smaller because we could really connect to each other like never before. So that's really a reason why the federal government would invest in the building of the Transcontinental Railroad, just because it grew the country, and that was a belief, manifest destiny, that we should go out and conquer it from sea to shining sea, but also the tax revenue that came from it and how the railroad really developed America. So here is a map of how the railroads connected us. Some really interesting videos linked here from the History Channel. So if you get a chance, go check those out. So here's a question from the STAR exam. Take a second, see how you would do on it. During the Gilded Age, there was a notable increase in federal support for which of the following? Pause it while you think about it. If you said A, correct answer. Good job. Yeah, government wanted to support business because the growth of business benefits everyone. So the next question we'll talk about is, what was the relationship like between business and the federal government? And you really have, three kinds of relationship between the federal government and its people. You can have an autocratic style relationship where a leader just simply tells the people what to do. You can have a laissez-faire style, and laissez-faire, remember, is that French phrase that means to let do or hands off, where you have a leader just telling the people, hey, you make your choices, do whatever you see fit. And then there's a democratic style where a leader asks the people, which do you think is best? The people consult him, consult each other, tell the leader, and he puts those things into action. So some positive things about that is that these two systems, you have, a lot of input from the voice of the people. But on the negative side, in the laissez-faire system, it can be abused when there is no government oversight to step in, and that's what we're going to see happening during the Gilded Age. One way that the government had a hands-off attitude was keeping taxes low, not imposing costly regulations or trying to control prices or how much the businesses paid their employees. The United States had the world's largest free trade zone, unlike in Europe where there were different zones, and every time you cross into a new zone you had to pay a new tariff. In America, you could go from region to region and not have to worry about taxes. So this is where we get our free enterprise system from, also called capitalism, where people are just free, businesses are free to produce and sell whatever they wish. And we, the consumer, we can buy whatever it is that we have the money in our pocket for. There's no one to tell you how to spend your money. From that, we get the birth of large corporations, and they build on themselves by giving shares of stock to their investors, and everybody wins. When that company makes money, the investors get money, and it's kind of a multiplying effect. A darker side, though, is the birth of trust and holding companies, and that's in page 130 of your textbook for more information about trust and holding companies. But this concept that multiple businesses, corporations would come together under one umbrella, kind of elect a leader, and they would run their companies as one. And their whole purpose was to reduce competition, not let anyone else into their club, thereby kind of cornering the market and forming monopolies. So some of the big entrepreneurs of this era, let's talk about them and their social impact. So you can take a second and draw this chart in your notebook, and we'll spend some time talking about each one of these. So feel free to pause it while you copy this notebook. These are the page numbers that you can reference to help you. So here the objective is to talk about vertical and horizontal integration and how it contributes to the economic development of the United States. First up is Andrew Carnegie. If you want to, click on this link here and you can go and watch a video from the History Channel about Mr. Carnegie. In 1875, Andrew Carnegie, a Scottish immigrant to this country, he creates a company named after himself, a steel company in 1875. The method by which he rose to power and success was an idea called vertical integration. Let's look real quick at what vertical integration is. That means that you can, in an industry such as, for instance, Acme meat industry, you would control every factor of production that goes into the distribution and production of your meat. That is what Mr. Carnegie did with the steel industry. He is in the field of steel, which means he controls the iron ore field where it's mined and extracted. He controls the refining process in the factories and the ultimate delivery of the product. A dark side, though, is the undercut, the ruthless competition, but also paying workers low wages and working his workers low hours. But on the positive side, you had philanthropic activities such as giving millions of dollars away to libraries and universities. And these are some very interesting quotes that I found from Mr. Carnegie. And here's an image that I found showing his more philanthropic side. Now, in Andrew Carnegie's Gospel, the Gospel of Social Wealth, it's an article that he wrote, and he's really explaining his attitude toward how wealthy people should treat others, or what wealthy people should do with their money. And really, he says it's the obligation of the more wealthy people in society to benefit those that are not as wealthy. Hear this line. There should be a harmonious relationship between rich and poor, not to be antagonistic to each other, but in harmony. We should help those who want to help themselves, who desire to improve. Don't give them everything, because just giving handouts doesn't improve an individual nor a race, but give back definitely. Next up is John D. Rockefeller. Click on this link here if you want to watch a video from the History Channel about Mr. Rockefeller. In 1880, he created America's first monopoly. It was called Standard Oil Company. And by the time he was done with it, it controlled 90% of the oil industry in America. Can you imagine that? But the darker side of that is kind of the backdoor strong arming that went on, forcing railroad companies to give him special rates, and then he would buy out his competitors and completely shut them down. He used a strategy called horizontal integration in the accumulation of his wealth, and let's talk real quick about what horizontal integration is. So there are other companies that are in the same industry as you, But one by one, you buy them out, or you run them out of town, either by undercutting them in the price arena, and then you absorb them all into your company. And that's what Mr. Rockefeller did in the oil arena. On the positive side, though, he did give millions of dollars to charitable organizations through his Rockefeller Foundation. So here's some images I found of people portraying John D. Rockefeller. So when it comes to, are they a captain of industry or a robber baron, it's really a matter of perspective. Last but not least of the major industrialists is John Pierce Morgan. And he's one of the most powerful bankers of his time period. And what allowed him to raise, his status in society was when several railroad companies were experiencing difficult times. He was there to step in and help them, give them money to invest in them. And when it turned around, the stock that he had bought in their companies provided dividends to him. In turn, by the end of his life, he controlled 1 out of every 6 of America's railway lines. So we know him for helping to organize General Electric and the U.S. Steel Corporation. He was a benefactor, however, to the American Museum of Natural History, and we should know J.P. Morgan for his relationship to Chase Bank. So we're going to wrap up this activity by doing, 2 sides of a coin. If you've heard that phrase before, it really means 2 different perspectives to see a person from. We're going to do Mr. Rockefeller and we're going to do Mr. Carnegie. You're going to need 2 circles, one for Carnegie, one for Rockefeller, and really describe on one side of the coin what are all the things that someone would use to call them a robber baron. Draw pictures that represents that. And on the other side of the coin, what are all the things that he did where someone might say that he was a captain of his industry, top of the top, cream of the crop. Robber baron being a negative connotation, such as you've gotten that place in life, but you didn't do it by clean methods. Okay, so here let's wrap up with these ending questions. Why were some people critics of big business and monopolies? Pause it, think about it. If you said choice F, you are correct. What was a social issue raised by the philanthropic activities of many American businesses during the Gilded Age? Pause it, think about it. If you said choice D, you are